All right. Okay, we're back in. We're back in. What's up? What's up? I see everybody. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? I see everybody. What's up, Ether Virgo? What's up, Profound? What's up, Profound? What's up, Canada? What's it? Jory. Hold on. So let me put Jory back in here. Here we go. Let me add the homie back. What's up? What's up? Let's get the homie back in here.
All right.
All right, cool. So I guess it's only 30 minutes. So again, so whenever it stops, we just do another live stream and just keep it going. So as long as we need, all right. So
Did
it's all good.
you did you save that video? Because I got a program where I can save the Instagram videos, and it didn't
Yeah,
show up.
yeah, hmm
So you got
yeah. So
cool.
you should be able to. It's in my storyline. Like, so if you go to my page and check my storyline, it should be right there. So
Okay.
you wanna save it first? You wanna go save it, or you wanna keep going?
Let's just keep going. I think it'll still be in there.
Okay, no problem. Not a problem. So again, I see for everybody else watching, for people who don't know what's going on, I'm giving my friend Joy here a natal reading. So this is an example of a natal reading for those who kind of don't know what's going on. I see everybody in here commenting, so I'm giving Joy a natal reading. So this is an example. So if you ever got a natal reading from me, this is pretty much an example of how it will go. So let us continue. We were just getting into Mars. All right. So again, Mars in the second house, and Mars is also in Cancer. So Mars represents our vitality. So once again, we got the sun that represents our conscious mind. We got the moon that represents the subconscious. We got Mercury, which represents the right brain. We got Venus, which represents no, I got it backwards. Mercury is the left brain. Venus is the right brain. Now that we go to Mars, Mars represents your vitality, meaning what animates the physical body. So the energy that animates your physical body, that's Mars. Or you can say that's masculine energy. But okay. So you kind of freezing, so let me make sure the signal was good here. Make sure that he's good. Hold on. All right, you good. So did you hear everything I said?
Yeah, yeah. It's coming in good on my end.
All right. So Mars represents vitality, your vitality. So Mars going through Taurus, the second house. Mars being influenced by the second house. And again, we know the second house is Taurus. Taurus is all about beautifying your reality. And for most people, beautifying their reality means a big bank account. So on a physical level, it represents beautifying your bank account. On a spiritual level, it's about beautifying your spiritual bank account. And your spiritual bank account, you can say, is your psychic abilities. So that's what your spiritual bank account is a manifestation of the psychic reality or the fourth dimension, whatever you want to call it. So we have our physical beauty, which is again having access to funds whenever you need them. Then you have the psychic beauty, which is being able to tap into your psychic abilities. So because Mars is in Cancer, so let me make sure okay, we at 68%. All right, so we're good. So Mars being in Cancer, and again, we know that Cancer is this straight rush of energy, right? So we have all this energy being directed into one focused thought, And again, Mars is all about physical vitality. So you got physical vitality all being directed into one intention or one thought. So what is all this energy being directed into? So let's read a description. All right, so give me 1 second. So the description says, a small naked girl bends over a pond trying to catch a fish. The description says, the first native quest for knowledge and for an ever elusive understanding of life. So one more time. A small naked girl bends over a pond trying to catch a fish. The definition of that represents the first native quest for knowledge and an ever elusive understanding of life, which represents purity and understanding. So that purity and understanding represents you not necessarily being jaded by the mishaps in life. So as we were just saying previously, being that white dove flying over the troubled waters. Because if you allow yourself to get seeped into those dark waters, we get jaded, meaning we start to have a negative outlook on life. We start to not be able to see the beauty of life because we're so subjected to, we got to pay these taxes, we got to pay these bills, we got to do this, we got to do that. So we start to lose sense of the beauty of life when we allow ourselves to get jaded. So the purity and understanding represents us being able to stay pure and to realize that. Did you say something, bro?
No, I'm all good.
Okay. So the purity and understanding represents our ability not to be jaded in life. So it don't matter what we go through. Again, even if we are the white dove flying over the troubled waters, we understand that the troubled waters has to exist. So we're not looking at the troubled waters as is something wrong here. We look at the troubled waters as, sometimes nature is violent. Sometimes nature has violent changes, right? Because nature has violent changes at times, right? We got all type of bugs all around here. Apologies. But because nature has violent changes at times, we just understand like this is just a cycle of life, a necessary cycle of life. Just like death is a necessary cycle of life, no matter how much we may not want to die or want somebody else to die that may be closer. We understand that this is a part of nature. This is a part of the process. So we don't get jaded by the process, no matter how, how it may look from the outside. Like, man, why does everybody have to die? Or why does poverty have to be so significant? Why do, just small people, small percent of people rich, big percent of the people who's living check to check. We don't get jaded by none of these statistics. We don't get jaded by any of this. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I was born in this part of the world, or I was born in this particular city and all that. We don't get jaded by where we were born, what color of our skin. We don't allow none of this to jade us in our purity of life and understanding life. Like, okay, some changes will be violent. Some changes are necessary. So we don't allow anything that happens in the troubled water to mess up our purity and understanding life. Because when we understand life, we understand that you need the hot and the cold, you need the bad and the good, you need the left and the right, you need the polarity, you need these contrasts because they also complement each other. I've been talking about this in the videos. Like on the surface, you have contrast. You got white and you got black. You got deaf and you got somebody who's able to hear. You got, blindness. You got somebody who's able to see. You got all these contrasts. However, instead of us looking at these as contrast, they actually complement each other. The more we look at it from an esoteric perspective. So once again, because we're dealing with Cancer, because we're dealing with a water sign. So whenever we're dealing with Cancer, whenever we're dealing with Scorpio, whenever we're dealing with Pisces, we're dealing with the element of water, we're dealing with emotions, right? Because we're dealing with emotions, we're dealing with, again, most people say emotions are energy in motion, but emotions are really cycles of time or basically you can say emotion helps us to understand the cycles. For example, we know that the moon has influence over the tides, right? The moon, you can say at a full moon, the tides are going crazy, the water is going crazy at a full moon. People's emotions are actually heightened at this time of the month as well. So at the time of the full moon, you got all these tides going on, and you also have people being able to release their emotions. The full moon is being able to release energy. The new moon is all about manifestation. So people who do new moon rituals, this is all about planting the seeds for future manifestation. When we talk about the full moon, this is people being able to clear out their energy, being able to clear out your energy. So that's what the full moon represents. So that's why it has all these effects is happening during the full moon, right? And we know that the moon, is correlated to Cancer. So because of Mars, which represents your vitality, your vitality being directed into your emotions, those emotions that flow in the straight path, like the Cancer in the second house, which is all about beauty. So being able to beautify your physical energy, beautify through the expression of your emotions, but these emotions being directed into one path. Because again, you have people whose emotions are all over the place. You have people who like to keep their emotions reserved, but then you have people who like to express their emotion. So by your Mars being in Cancer, that means you have the ability or the natural ability to creatively express your emotions. Now, again, emotions represent cycles. So, for example, like the 28-day moon cycle is also correspondence to a woman's menstrual cycle, right? So women and the moon are connected, whether they want to or not. That's why women are highly emotional because of their connection with the moon. So we see that there's a psychic influence of the moon. The moon has a psychic influence over water, but also over the women because the emotions just represents the cycles, the greater cycles. We have the 24-hour clock, but then we have, the planets moving through the zodiac, which is, a greater time. So we have the smaller time, our 24-hour clock, the smaller time, but then we have the greater time. So if we're talking about the greater time beyond the 24-hour clock, because up until this point, we've been talking about the 24-hour clock. But when we move beyond the 24-hour clock, so your physical energy or your vitality, being able to creatively express emotion, this gives you the ability to. So, for example, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Because when you creatively express your emotions, as well as being able to express them assertively, to assertively express your emotions, this represents somebody who is able to, you can say, let's just say you saw a woman crying. You're walking down the street, you see a woman crying. Most people would, want to ask her, why is she crying? So you may go up to her, why are you crying? Is there anything wrong? Anything I can help you with? Right? Then it goes from there. But imagine you seeing a grown man crying. You seeing a fully grown man crying his eyes out. You have a different response to that, right? So you thinking, like, why is this grown man crying? Because we look at it as that's something like men shouldn't be doing. Like, you shouldn't be crying, especially outside, so where everybody can see you. But people are going to be less likely to ask him what's wrong because it's a grown man, right? So we don't, men tend to keep their distance with other men, respect their space and all that. So even if you see a grown man crying, you're not really going to have the same response because it kind of seems weird. But when we think about women crying, it's like, you automatically want to go and help them out. So with the assertive, creative expression, you can say it's like the image of a man crying, and you just looking at how people respond to this grown man crying. You just observe. He may not necessarily be in no pain or anything, like he got hit by a car or something like that. We just talking about a man sitting on the side of the road crying. So a lot of people, you know, are not really going to just rush to his aid to figure out why he's crying, because we just really don't see men crying in society. That's not really an image that you see too often, but it is something that happens. We just tend to do it behind closed doors. So it's just looking at the experience of Mars again. Mars being the masculine energy, but expressed to the degree of Cancer. It's just you being able to observe the unnatural phenomenon in nature. Again, just something that's kind of weird. Like you just don't expect to see men crying. But if you did see a man crying, how exactly would you respond? Because we really don't have a response to that. Like, yo, do I try to help him, or do I try to ask? Or you would probably be asking like, yeah, you all right? But you would kind of be reluctant. It wouldn't be, you wouldn't rush to it like, yo, I see that man all the way down the street crying. Let me go rush and see what's wrong with him. You may walk to him. Let me slowly walk and see what's going on with him. Because it's a man. It's like you don't really have like, yo, I wanna let me help this woman. You know what I'm saying? Let me help this man. So you may walk over, creep over to him, trying to peep everything out. Like, yo, is he hurt? Is it you trying to kind of figure things out before you ask him? So it's just that the difference between this masculine energy and how we respond to masculine energy versus how we respond to feminine energy. So the Mars and the Cancer is just merging the masculine and the feminine energy together. Like, yo, the purity and understanding means we don't really treat them differently. We don't treat the masculine different than the feminine when we talk about spiritual principles. So the same way you will run over to help a woman, if you saw a man crying, you don't respond like a human. You don't respond like, yo, we don't really know what to do. You have a purity in your understanding, because just like a child, if a child sees a grown man crying, they won't hesitate to ask, are you okay? What's wrong? Because their understanding is still pure. They don't have this construct in their mind of men are big and powerful and they cannot be harmed, and women are soft and emotional. A child doesn't really have that concept in their mind just yet. So they're gonna ask, like, yo, there's a man crying. Let's see what's wrong with him. A child would say that without thinking twice. But us, as we grow older, we tend to become a little bit more, what is the word I'm looking for? A little bit more numb, to the sufferings of men, because it's like, yo, men are powerful. Whatever you may be going through, you figure it out. You have to be a man, and you have to, be the leader of your family, leader of whatever. So you don't just see that. So men just suck it up. We figure it out. We just do what we got to do. But a child seeing a crying man, it's not going to have the same response we have, because of their purity of understanding. So when it comes to you, because your Mars is in Cancer, this is just giving you perspective of, again, the description says, the first native quest of knowledge and an ever elusive understanding. What this means is an ever elusive understanding is meaning your understanding is not set in stone. As we were talking about, you don't have this rock hard understanding of how things should be, how you should treat men, how you should treat women, how you should go about doing this, how you should go about doing this. Again, Mars represents your energy. Like, oh, because pretty much in society, we're told, okay, this is how you utilize your energy. Whether you're going to a job, whether you're doing this, whether you're doing that, they're pretty much, we're being told how to utilize our energy. But because your understanding is elusive and pure, because your understanding is elusive and pure, you don't allow the constructs of society to determine how you respond to masculine or feminine energy. So you don't have, okay, we need to help the woman, but walk to the man. You're like, yo, if I'm going to help anybody, then I'm going to run to everybody's aid, or I'm going to walk to everybody's aid. That crying woman, if I'm going to walk to the crying man, I'm going to walk to the crying woman. If I'm going to run to the crying woman, then I'm going to run to the crying man. So having this elusive understanding of life, meaning you don't have nothing hardcore, you don't have no hard constructs of how you should respond to people and how you should do certain things. So again, your masculine energy or your vitality, this is just giving you insight to keep a pure understanding. So whenever you go out in life, you don't say, okay, I'm going to help this person, I'm not going to help this person, or I'm going to feel a certain type of way with this person. And it don't even have to be people. It can just be how you feel about nature, how you feel about a certain business, how you feel about anything. It's not limited to people. So it's all about you having this purity in your understanding, which gives you the ability to see deeper into things. Meaning because you saw 10 people walk past this crying man, you were the 11th, but you actually stopped and asked him, yo, you all right? You figured it out? He probably just needed to have a conversation. He may have been going through some troubles with his wife. Whatever the case may be, he may just needed a conversation. He just needed a conversation. He feel like, okay, you know what? Dang, I never looked at it that way. You give him a broader sense. You pretty much tell him you got to be the white dove flying over the troubled water. So you just have a conversation, a 5-minute conversation. That helps him to stop crying. He's now back on his feet. He's now being a man, and he's going to do what he got to do. So you can say even something like that may just take a 5-minute conversation. Somebody just needed to help him organize his thoughts. Because even as men, sometimes we need help. We're not indestructible. Sometimes we got to stop and think and meditate. We may need a second point of view about things because we may be stuck in our perspective. He may not have had a purity in his understanding. So he may have been thinking, dang, I can't do what I need to do as a man. So I feel less than a man. So that makes him feel bad about himself because, like, well, as a man, you got to do this. As a man, you got to do this. As a man, you got to do this, to protect, provide, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. So if he feel like he can't live up to what he's supposed to be doing as a man, whatever the constructs are, now he feels lesser than, like, damn, I can't do it. But you, having a purity and understanding, can approach this man and realize, like, yo, don't worry about it, bro. We all have downtime. We all got to deal with the troubled water. But because you're pure, meaning you're not the person that walked past. You're the person that, okay, I want to remain elusive. So even if a situation may seem weird, it may seem mysterious, again, because this is most of the time when the most spiritual things happen, when things seem a little bit weird, things seem a little bit mysterious. You kind of see something that you don't expect to see. Again, you just don't expect to see a crying man. That's why I'm using that example. But it can be anything that you just don't expect to see. But you not being afraid to approach that situation and trying to amend the situation, to the best of your ability. And again, you're utilizing your telepathy as well. Like, okay, this dude may need a little bit of healing. So if he's crying, that means his heart chakra is a little bit off balance. So let me give him some heart chakra energy. So you imagine this green beam of light shooting into him. Like let me help him be balanced. Let me shoot some energy to him. Boom. Help him get his mind right so that he can be the man that he's supposed to be. When you have a elusive understanding of life, you don't see anything wrong with that. You don't see anything wrong with healing another man, no matter how manly he may seem. Just like you don't have a problem healing a woman if they need to be healed. So that's just giving you an example of Mars and Cancer. Mars and Cancer utilizes their physical ability and their physical energy to be able to mend situations, no matter how weird they may seem. Again, because it's in the second house, the house of beautification. You being able to beautify your energy. You being able to beautify your energy and reflect that towards other people. Now, let's move on to your Jupiter. So your Jupiter is in Aries in the 11th house. So when we're dealing with the energy of Jupiter, you can say, of course, we know Jupiter is a planet of wisdom. So Jupiter is where you pull all your wisdom. It's also the planet of the father. The planet of the father. Like, so how a person's relationship with their father can be observed with the Jupiter. Just like somebody's relationship with their mother, can be observed in their moon sign. So people study their moon sign, and it can show you the relationship you have with your mother. You study your Jupiter, it can, give you insight into the relationship you have with your father. But even deeper than that, as a planet of wisdom, because it's in Aries in the 11th house. So you can say Jupiter is all about your ability to expand. So anything, whether it's expanding the business, expanding your bank account, expanding your creativity, expanding your family, anything that has something to do with expansion comes from the energy of Jupiter. Now, because Jupiter is being influenced by the 11th house, the 11th house is the house of Aquarius, right? And we know Aquarius is the rebel. Aquarius energy is all about rebellion, meaning that Aquarius wants to rebel against society. Aquarius, from the mindset of an Aquarius looks at society and says, that's not me. Who I am, I have to manifest from within. I have to manifest who I am from within. Nobody can tell me who I am and how to behave and what's right and what's wrong. I have to figure that out for myself, and I have to manifest that energy to the world. So the Aquarius wants to manifest their inner world outwardly. So because your Jupiter is in Aries, again, Aries is a cardinal fire sign. So Aries is pretty much, you can say, a flame that's being directed in one direction, right? So because Jupiter, your ability to expand is going through the energy of Aries. And Aries, you can say, which is the first house, Aries is all about your self-image. So Aries is all about the self-image in terms of, Aries like to look good, their body, their whole self-image. Aries is all about how to perfect your self-image, how to get that on point. So your Jupiter, your means of expression being geared towards your self-image through the house of Aquarius, which is a rebel. So when we put all these things together, you can say your self-image or your image of self has to come from within, meaning you build up your own self-image within yourself based on what you know, based on what you study, based on what seems right to you. You don't allow somebody else to tell you what's right, what's wrong, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. You listen to your spirit, you listen to your intuition, you listen to that gut feeling that we all have within us, right? You let that be the spokesman for you versus somebody else. So because that's in Aries, again, your ability to expand your self-image from within. That's basically what it's saying. Your ability to expand your self-image from within instead of you reading a book or you listening to somebody else. Like you know how to build up your own self-image based on what's natural to you. You follow your natural nature. Hold on. Let that pass. All right? But because we're not taught to study ourselves and to manifest ourselves, we don't see this reflected. We just see a bunch of robots everywhere. We see a lot of people being influenced by society. No problem, because we know that it's balance. Some people will be influenced by society, some people will be influenced from the spirit. But because you are being influenced from the spirit, again, so you being able to expand, your ability to expand anywhere. So beyond your current situation, your ability to expand, your ability to look at life through the eyes of a philosopher. So you don't build up your ego. So let me make that distinction. So Aries isn't necessarily about building up the ego. Your self-image isn't your ego. Your self-image is based on where you feel you are from. Or in other words, you can say, I'm from Illinois. Or you can say, I'm from this particular star constellation, or I'm from the planet Earth. So you're like, oh yeah, I was born in Illinois, but I'm from the whole planet. So I don't necessarily like, oh, I want to be over here, I want to be over here. You may be a person that, the whole planet is my home. I am a human being. I am an earthling. So this whole planet is mine to explore and to, gather the resources and do whatever I want to do. Like this whole planet is mine. Or you can say this whole universe is mine. Just depending on a macro level, macrocosm versus the microcosm. However you want to look at it. So your ability to expand. So from Illinois to the whole earth. From the whole earth to the whole universe. This is your self-image. Because like, can you find yourself in the earth and can you find yourself in the stars? So you finding yourself in the stars is the purpose of a natal chart. So you being able to see what type of constellations and what type of alignments you have. So this is giving you you can say, a point of reference in the stars of who and what you are. Because again, this is like a snapshot of all of the alignments in the stars at the time of your birth. So you can say this is your cosmic origins. These are how the stars and the planets were, spinning and moving at the time of your birth. And you have a signature, because again, every moment you can say has a signature. Every moment has an image. So at the particular time of your birth, these are the images that were in play at the time of your birth, which has an influence over you on a cosmic level. So we are influenced by the stars. We are influenced also by the planet, gravity and all these things. So we have an influence from the planet and we have an influence from the stars. So when you see the whole earth as your home and the whole universe as your home, that affects your self-image. So you don't look at yourself as I'm just a regular person from a regular city, from a regular state, just like everybody else. That may be the case. So again, I'm not saying that you should put yourself over anybody, but you expand your self-awareness, your self-image or your self-awareness through Jupiter, through the energy of Jupiter. You can expand your self-image. Because when I say all these planets, these are what your alignments are in, but you can always tap into the energy of Jupiter or Mars or the sun or moon. You can always tap into these energies because each day is ruled by a certain energy. For example, Monday is ruled from the moon. Monday is moon day. Tuesday is the day of Mars. Wednesday is the day of Mercury. Thursday is the day of Jupiter. Friday is Venus. Saturday is Saturn. And Sunday is the sun. So the 7 planets correlate with the 7 chakras, right? So we also have planetary hours. Like there's an app you can download on your phone. You type in planetary hours, so you can look. Every hour is ruled by a particular planet. So I have it on my phone as well. So right now we're in the hour of the sun. So it shows you a little notification. So we're in the hour of the sun. So, for example, if you wanted to work with the energy of Jupiter, then you can either wait to Thursday or you can wait to the hour of Jupiter, which happens at least 2 times a day. You have the hour of Jupiter in the daytime, you have the hour of Jupiter at night. So you may be working in the day or working at night, so you may have to use the night or the day, just depending on how your schedule is. So you have these energies here, but you can always gather insight, further insight from these energies, again, just by dedicating certain rituals. So let's just say you wanted to work with the energy of Jupiter. You wanted to just have a correspondence. So again, just like I talked, just utilizing your telepathy. So the same way I said that you can communicate with trees, you can communicate with spirits and plants and all that. You can also communicate with planets and star constellations. So we're taking it all the way from the Earth. You can communicate with nature, anything within nature. But you can also communicate with the stars. You just do it at a particular times during the day or on certain days. So Thursday, the influence of Jupiter is the strongest. So Jupiter or Thursday would be the best day to communicate with Jupiter, or the hour of Jupiter on any day. Just depending on, so for anybody, if you wanted to do a particular ritual towards Venus, which is like, again, it's like the color blue, but it ain't really about the colors. It's just that if you wanted to better understand your particular alignment and you wanted to communicate with Jupiter, like help me to understand better anything, if you want to take it to the next level, is anything that deals with expansion, you communicate with Jupiter. So you can communicate the same way you communicate with a person, you can communicate with these planets, and they can give you certain insight into, how certain things look from an understanding and a spiritual perspective. So when we read a description of your Jupiter in Aries in the 11th house, it says, let me see. So let me get to it. Okay. So Jupiter in Aries, 21st degree in the 11th house. It says a pugunlis or a pujalis, which is a boxer. I may be saying it wrong, but this is the boxer. A boxer enters the ring. The definition says the release and glorification of social aggressiveness / overwhelming power. So it says a release and glorification of social aggressiveness. So you can say that's what a boxer is. The purpose a boxer serves on a greater level. So within the ring, of course, a boxer is fighting. But as a social event, this helps everybody to release their social aggression. What do I mean? So let me put it into context. So what this is saying is you have the boxer in the middle of the ring who is pretty much an entertainer, a fighter and an entertainer for everybody else. So for everybody else, people outside of the ring, people are naturally aggressive. Just because of the type of world that we in, people are naturally aggressive. So instead of people, let's just say, fighting each other, they would rather see other people fight because it releases that same energy. So the same energy that people may have to fight, they may be stressed or they may just be natural warriors at heart. But I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna go around killing people because I may be a natural warrior. So let me watch two other warriors fight, and that satisfies my urge, whatever it may be, right? So this is what Jupiter does. Hold on, let me rearrange. This is what Jupiter does. Jupiter gives you the ability to expand. So instead of you being the fighter in the middle of the ring, you can be that observer of the fight and have that same expansion, but without getting your face knocked off, right? So let me give you a clear example of what I'm talking about. Because we know we are not these human bodies, right? We are not these human bodies. These are our vessels, right? We express the spirit through the physical components. So we're using our hands, our communication. This is the spirit communicating, utilizing the body as a vessel. Because if there's no spirit, then you're either dead or you're asleep and somewhere in dream world. So when your spirit leaves your body, you're either asleep or you're dead. So when there's no spirit, the body cannot animate itself. So it's the spirit that animates the body. So the spirit expands the human expression. So for example, like I said, instead of you being the fighter and getting your face beat up, you can observe the fight because we are observers. Because the spirit is observing life through the eyes of the human vessel. So we are not the human vessel. We are the spirit within the human vessel, but that's not limited to the human vessel. We can also go out of the human vessel, right? So let me give you another example. So you can say, just like we said earlier, you got the people who are in the troubled waters who's trying to swim to the surface. You got people swimming in the waters, those troubled waters, people trying to swim upstream, right? They're trying to grind and hustle hard and doing all this. But you're the dove flying over all of that, meaning you are the observer to the troubled waters, instead of you feeling like you are within the midst of the troubled water. You're in the midst of the chaos, trying to get out of the chaos. No, you are the white dove observing the chaos and not subjected to the chaos. That's the difference. But you can still see everything everybody else sees. So you can still expand. You can still expand your awareness by being the observer. So you don't always have to be the center of something. You don't always have to be in the midst, in the chaos, trying to fight your way to freedom. You can be, again, the white dove observing the same fight that everybody else sees, but you're not subjected to the hardship of it. Why? Because you know how to keep yourself elevated, as we explained earlier. So you know how to keep yourself elevated or to expand your awareness so that you don't have to be the person swimming in the troubled waters. You can be the white dove flying over the waters, but still see and still have sympathy and awareness of everything that's going on around you. It just doesn't move you emotionally. It doesn't take you off of your center just because you see what's going on in the troubled waters. So just because you see all the hardships of the world and how aggressive people may be and how people may just be naturally, you don't allow that to move you off your center. So you can expand your spiritual awareness and your physical awareness, but without having to be moved off of your center, without having to feel bad emotions or feel messed up about yourself, about whatever. You can stay focused and stay centered and be the observer and not be affected. Again, once again, it says the release and glorification of social aggressiveness. So the release and glorification. So two boxers fighting, they're releasing energy, and the people are glorifying the energy that's being released. So all is so much energy being released in the midst of a fight between two boxers. And let's just say they had 10,000 people in the crowd watching them. So they're releasing all of this energy, the energy that can potentially kill. Boxers can die in the ring. So they're releasing large amounts of energy that can potentially end somebody's life. But of course, they're trained professionals, so they make sure that that doesn't happen. But it allows those 10,000 people that are in the audience, that allows them to release their social aggressiveness. So the crowd cheers. They're going crazy, right? So the crowd is getting a release as well. So the crowd is there, but the crowd isn't beating each other up. You got the people in the ring who's like the avatars. The people in the ring are the avatars that help people to release that social aggressiveness. Right? So again, to relate it back to you, the expansion of your self-image by being the rebel. So as a rebel, you're like, I'm not getting into the ring and fighting if I'm not a fighter. I'm not, I'm going to be in attendance. I'm going to be the white dove. I'm going to be in attendance, and I'm going to release. So I don't allow all this energy to build up within myself. I allow myself to expand without having to punch somebody's face in. Right? So, all right. So
I got 15% on my phone, so I'm charging it up now.
okay, yeah, no problem, bro. Do whatever you got to do. Okay, so lastly, the release and the glorification of social aggressiveness, overwhelming power. So the reason why that last part says overwhelming power is because, again, two boxers have the ability to potentially kill each other, right? The potential is there. You can potentially get hit so hard, and we ain't even got to say kill. We can just say just loss of consciousness. You get knocked out. We just say that. So each punch has a potential to knock the opponent out. They can lose consciousness, but they, again, because they're professionals, they just make sure that you don't get hit directly. You defend yourself. But because you're working with overwhelming power, meaning the power to potentially to cause somebody's loss of consciousness, but that same power that's being directed in these punches. Because if you do hit somebody and they lose consciousness, guess what the crowd is going to do? They're going to go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way that punch just made somebody lose consciousness, it made the crowd go crazy. The crowd loves it, right? Because we are socially aggressive by nature, right? Excuse me. We are socially aggressive by nature. So that same punch that released somebody's consciousness is that same punch that allowed 10,000 people to go crazy. That's the power of being the observer. Because again, you're like, yo, I'm not gonna be the person getting knocked out, but I will be the person in the crowd, cheering it up and releasing that pent up energy within me. It's therapy, right? You can say boxing is like therapy for the fighters as well as the observers. It's like a form of therapy. So, again, lastly, the ability to expand your self-awareness or your self-image on an earthly realm and a cosmic realm by being the rebel, by being a rebellious one, the one who walks their own path, the one who studies their own books, the one who writes their own books, and the one who makes their own rules and regulations. That's what it means to be the observer. It means to have that overwhelming power, the power to change your reality. But do you choose, like, yo, I can either change my reality by being the boxers in the middle of the ring, or I can change my reality by living vicariously through the boxes or being that white dove looking at everybody. Meaning I don't need to be the one swimming in these death-defying waters and I can potentially lose my life. I don't need to put myself in that water and potentially drown. I can fly over it. Even though I see many people drowning in that water. I see all type of chaos going on. But I don't allow it to move me off my center, off my self-awareness, because I was smart enough to fly over it. Meaning, so that's your ability to expand because you can tap into that spiritual awareness. And the spiritual awareness told you, don't swim in the water, fly over, or don't be the one boxing in the ring and get knocked out. Be the person watching the fight and expand from there. Expand from that power that knocked that person out and the crowd goes crazy. You can absorb that energy. Let me absorb the energy from the crowd. I can pull all that energy in. All that energy that they're expressing out, because they're releasing that, now that's just unlimited energy that you have access to. You can pull that chi back into you and transmute that energy so that you expand and you didn't have to get knocked out. Right? So that's the difference. So that all this energy that's being expressed, so you can say the same with people that watch football, people that watch basketball. Every time somebody makes a score, the crowd goes crazy. So that's the ability for you to gather all that energy, pull it within you. So when you pull this energy within you, it's like you're overwhelmed. It's like being overwhelmed with power. But you start to transmute that power into various things, various other things. So it's like somebody pulling in power, but then they don't know what to do with it. So you have to transmute it. You transmute it. You have to break down the power into smaller elements so that they can be, they can travel all throughout the body and charge you up. So now you walk out as a charged up atom or a charged being, and you didn't have to punch nobody, and nobody didn't have to punch you, but you still got that therapeutic release and being able to pull that energy back into yourself. So lastly, Jupiter in Aries, the ability to expand physically and spiritually through your self-awareness or your self-image, your earthly image as well as your cosmic image, because you don't see these as two separate things. You see them as the same. So that my cosmic origins and my earthly origins are one and the same. That's why my astrology chart, meaning the alignment of the stars and the planets, can help me physically, right? So there we go there. So I know we spent a little time on Jupiter, but we will continue. All right. So again, is everything making sense so far?
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right. So let's move on to Saturn here. Now, your Saturn is in Sagittarius in the seventh house. So Saturn is all about giving things shape and structure. So Saturn.
What the fuck?
Saturn
I told you live right now.
Is everything good?
Yeah. It's all good.
All right. So Saturn is all about being able to shape and mold things, right? So Saturn pretty much says, so at this point, so everything we've been talking about is more mental and more physical. Again, the sun, conscious mind. The moon, subconscious mind. Mercury is a left brain. Venus is a right brain. Mars is your vitality, what animates the human body. And Venus is your ability to expand from the physical to the spiritual or from the spiritual to the physical, being able to go throughout these dimensions, being able to pretty much knock somebody out and gain that energy without having to knock them out. Or it's like being able to, it's like, okay, I'll give a lower example. It's like, again, a person that goes to their job and let's just say hates their boss. So they go to their job, they hate their boss. So every day they go into the job, they hate it because they don't like the boss for whatever reason, right? The boss may be an asshole. So they may have a legitimate reason why they don't like this person. But Jupiter's ability to expand, you're like, okay, I'm not going to deal with the troubled waters. I'm not going to deal with this person's attitude, or I'm not going to allow this person's attitude to influence my attitude. I'm not going to allow them to give me negative energy. Now it knocks me off my center. Now I'm feeling negative. Now I'm talking shit about my boss, and I hate being here, but I know I need the paycheck. So it makes for these dynamics. But on the spiritual level, being a white dove flying over the troubled waters, you know that the boss is an asshole, but you're an asshole too. You a big enough asshole to think for yourself and to not be influenced by him. So you a big enough asshole to be self-aware. Like I have enough awareness of myself to not be influenced by this, so I'm going to keep my mind like I'm the dove flying over all this. I'm flying over the negativity of my boss. I can fly over it, just keeping my thoughts arranged in a certain way. So whatever they say, all right, cool. You do your job. You keep your mind elsewhere so that it expands beyond the physical realm. So doing that, now your boss is just becoming less and less and less and less of an asshole to the point where you don't even notice that behavior within your boss anymore because you stop focusing on it. It's like the more you focus on it, the bigger it becomes. The less you focus on it, the less it becomes. So he can still be the biggest asshole ever, but it just doesn't. You have created your center so powerful that it just you like I don't even notice his asshole nature anymore. But I notice my spiritual nature expanding and expanding and expanding. I expanded myself and spiritual awareness so much that all this earthly stuff doesn't move me off of my center or it doesn't take me out of a meditative state. So again, going to the Saturn and Sagittarius in the seventh house. Sagittarius is all about giving things structure and giving things shape, being able to shape and maneuver. So Saturn being in the seventh house, which is a house of Libra. Now we're dealing with Libra. Libra is all about partnerships, relationships, connections, so on and so forth. So Saturn, with the ability to give things structure, being expressed in the seventh house, the house of partnerships and friendships. So it's like you being able to shape and mold pretty much. You can say, because we're going to actually deal with the Sagittarius first. Because Saturn and Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is like the sign of the sign of the philosopher, right? So the Sagittarius is like you can say the person who keeps their mind, you can say in spirit. That's what Sagittarius do naturally, because the Sagittarius is a mutable sign, meaning a flexible sign, right? So the Sagittarius likes to keep their mind elsewhere. They can they can ponder on philosophy. They can study Eastern philosophy or Western philosophy or whatever it is, alchemy, whatever it is that interests them. They keep their mind elsewhere. So they may say, okay, so it's the same way, we correlate the numbers in the planets, so on and so forth. This is what the Sagittarius does. The Sagittarius looks for a deeper reality. So the Sagittarius, for example, the Sagittarius isn't looking at. Let's just say you live your house number. Let's just say the address is 9255, right? 9255. So the Sagittarius is looking at these numbers and they're breaking the numbers down. So 5 plus 5 is 10. The 10 goes back to 1. Then the 1 plus the 2 is 3. Then the 3 plus the 9 is 12. And the 12 breaks back down to 3. So the Sagittarius is looking at the numerology behind the house number. Or the Sagittarius is looking at the astrology signs. So the Sagittarius is like, okay, somebody else sees 9255. The Sagittarius sees 3. They broke down the 9255 into the vibration of 3, which is the vibration of Jupiter. So the Sagittarius is looking at this house. So for example, like a number 3 house is basically like, I consider it like the number 3 it's like a Tokyo vibe. It's like living in Tokyo. It's like everything is all about digital. Everything is digital. everything moves at a faster pace. Everything is more about, you can say, worldly. Everything is more worldly. So you can say like a number three house. It's a lot of video games, right? It's a lot of movies. It's a lot of people taking their minds to all around the world. So you may want to watch the Chinese kung fu flick to tap your mind in the frequency of China, to tap your mind into the frequency of Japan, to tap your mind into the frequency of London by watching these movies or playing video games or whatever. So the Sagittarius mind just taps into the alchemy and goes beyond it. So the Sagittarius, not the Sagittarius, excuse me, the Saturn in Sagittarius, this means to give structure and to give shape into the philosopher's stone. I'm pretty sure you heard about the philosopher's stone. Basically, you can say the philosopher's stone is like your fountain of youth. And the fountain of youth, again, these are all metaphysical terms that resonates with the human body. So it resonates with us. So the Saturn wants to give structure to the philosopher's stone. So the Sagittarius knows about the philosopher's stone because they study. So the Sagittarius studies the philosopher's stone. The Saturn wants to like, okay, well, how do I put this into something tangible? So Saturn is like, give me something tangible, give me something tangible, give me something tangible. So Saturn is looking at the philosopher's stone like, okay, how does that relate back to me? The Sagittarius is looking at the philosopher's stone as a philosophy. So Saturn gives structure to the philosophy of the philosopher's stone, which is basically how to stay youthful. Because I believe you said that you started to read the Amazing Secrets of the Yogi, and when you the further you go into the book, I'm not sure if did you read the whole book or you still reading it.
I pretty much read the first chapter where it talks about the breathing through the right nostril for positive energy.
Right. There
That
you
was
go.
good.
So as you go further along in the book, it's going to basically it starts to expand. So that's the foundation. The foundation is right, the positive and the negative breathing. The positive, the masculine breathing, and the feminine breathing. That's pretty much the foundation of the book. And the further and further you go into the chapters, it pretty much tells you what you can do when you breathe utilizing the masculine energy or the feminine energy. So it just starts to go into greater and greater detail from an earthly level all the way up to a spiritual level. How to get your earthly status on point, then how to connect with the cosmos. So it's going to take you through that whole process just simply because it's all about simplicity. That's why I recommend the book. So it's not going too advanced. It correlates everything back to the human body. So it's not going to take you out of space without bringing it back to the human body, like, or the breathing basically. So it's like, through your breathing, you can accomplish amazing tasks. So that's what Saturn is all about. Saturn is, give me something tangible. Give me a book. Give me a book. Where Sagittarius likes to philosophize on things, Saturn wants the book. Give me the book of philosophy so I can read it and I can correlate it back to myself and I can find some type of usefulness in it. So when we look at the description of what all of this is saying, it says, children playing on the beach. It says, their heads protected by sun bonnets. The keynote is the protection society affords to as yet immature individuals as they begin to deal with the powerful energies of their unconscious nature. So one more time. The protection society affords to as of yet immature individuals as they begin to deal with the powerful energies of their unconscious nature. So what this is saying is, because we have such power and such unlimited and infinite potential, we have the potential to do whatever we want, to shape and mold whatever we want, thoughts into things. We have the ability to do whatever we want. And the only reason that we don't see it as that way, or we kind of have some type of friction of seeing it that way, is because of what we have been taught from society. So society says you have to do A, then B, then C, then D, then E, versus the spirit says you can go, you can utilize telepathy to go from A all the way to Z. You don't have to waste time going, you know, from A, B, C, D, E. So I got the timer. The timer is coming up. So we got 10 seconds. So we're gonna go out, come right back in. All right.
All right,
All
cool.
right. So let me end this.